Hello everybody, in today's YouTube video I'm going to be reviewing the Yamaha Fb-01. This sound generator is an FM synthesizer that has 4 operators. It's basically a knockoff of the more famous DX7. But just because the sounds may not be as rich in harmonics due to the lack of operators in it, doesn't mean that it's not a good synthesizer. In fact, it's quite a capable one at its price point. You really can't go wrong. And if you would like to get your hands on an old piece of gear like this from the 1980s to fulfill your longing for musical nostalgia, then I definitely recommend this. Just add a few effects through a pedal or on your computer, and you'd be surprised at how good this little box can sound. Okay, so let's start up the synthesizer. And look, it's single, just like me. Now that we got that out of the way, let's look over some of the basic parameters of this unit. So our first menu is the system setup. Damn, that's a dusty button. So first we have configuration select. This allows us to make our own preset configurations for all the synth's parameters, such as the MIDI channel, upper and lower note limits, and output volume, and many other parameters not mentioned. More information can be found about this setting in the instruction manual on page 26. I will include a link to said manual in the description below. So next we have combine mode. At first I thought this had to do with combining sounds, but if you look at the manual, this setting makes it so that when a sound is loaded, it also loads all the voice functions, such as pitch bend and portamento. If this mode is off, these functions will not be loaded with a preset. So now we have memory protect. This function will stop you from making accidental modifications to the Fb-01's memory, thus protecting it. So what does this mean? It means if you want to load custom presets to the synthesizer's memory, you cannot unless this mode is turned off. But make sure to turn it back on after, because it's really easy to accidentally click and load a bank or preset through the SysEx Librarian. This is a software that is free for Mac and PC users for managing your libraries on your Fb-01 synthesizer. Link in the description below. Next we have configuration store. So this is pretty much the same as configuration select, except you're saving custom configurations. Personally, I don't see much reason to make custom configurations, as it sounds like a lot of work to do from the synthesizer itself. Tuning. This is pretty much self-explanatory. In fact, I'm pretty sure it skips explaining this in the manual. It basically changes the pitch of the synth. Now we have system channel number. This changes the system's MIDI channel. Generally, I would leave this at channel 1 unless you have more than one synthesizer communicating through MIDI. But this is a whole other can of worms that I'll dive into in another video. The next preset is called dump. This setting is used to communicate or save bulk information to a computer. This bulk information is usually libraries from the Fb-01 synthesizer. And not last but least, key code number receive mode. This makes it so that your synthesizer can detect all note values of velocity ranging from 0 to 127, though in the manual it does say 128 because it is counting 0 as a value. What is velocity? Well, velocity is how hard a note is struck or played. It usually corresponds to the note's loudness in the software. And that's all the settings in the system setup menu. Next, we have the instrument assign menu. Now this allows us to edit the MIDI channel of the sound, the number of notes that are playable in the sound, and the key code number limit lower and higher. These limits are also known as MIDI zoning. You can find more information about this in the instruction manual on page 17. I will include a link in the description below. Next, we have the instrument function menu, where you can control the output level of the synthesizer, you can transpose the octaves, you can detune it, you can choose between stereo and mono, or an LFO, also known as a low-frequency oscillator. Here we have the voice function menu. Here you can choose the pitch bend range, the portamento time, whether it's mono or poly, or a pitch modulation device. And last we have the voice select menu. Our first setting is voice number. Here you can use the data entry keys, positive and negative, to go through the voices in the selected bank. The second setting is voice store. This is pretty much self-explanatory. This is where you can store voices that you've tweaked, but you can find out more about this in the bottom of page 10 in the instruction manual. And lastly, we have voice bank number. Here you can select the bank of voices that you want to load. There are 7 banks and there's 48 presets in each of the 7 banks. I almost forgot to mention the data entry buttons. There's a positive and a negative button, or a yes and a no button. These can be used to navigate menus and change parameters within the synthesizer. Now that we've gotten the technicalities out of the way, let's see how this actually sounds. I've created a quick little demo track to show you what the synthesizer is capable of doing. Please note that the drums are not from the synthesizer, but everything else is. Well, this is the end of this video. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know in the comments section below. If you'd like me to cover any other topics that I didn't in this video pertaining to this synthesizer, also let me know. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and hit that like button. Thank you.